What is up, nation? Today we are talking about Super Mario Bros. Wonder because you might stop and look around and realize this game is out October 20th this month. And while we've already had our big news media blowout with Nintendo's full 15-minute plus Nintendo Direct presentation around this game, we are starting to see Nintendo heavily ramp up the marketing with 3 different recent commercials that went live on the Nintendo of Japan YouTube account that does highlight a couple of new screenshots and snippets that we have not seen in any other footage before. We need to walk through some of those details, in addition to a major game mechanic that was once planned to be in this game that has now been confirmed to be fully removed, which by looking at the trailer you can come to that conclusion, but there's a little bit of an interesting story behind it, and I'm also curious to gain your guys' perspective on whether or not this is a feature you prefer to have in 2D Mario games or not. And lastly, there is a potential new character leak that we do have to briefly mention, spend a little bit of time on. I'm not entirely sold that it's actually not just a giant hoax that got way more traction online than it maybe actually deserves, but it's worth mentioning because if it is true, there's definitely more playable characters than what we know to expect based off of everything we've seen around the game so far. So like, subscribe, and turn on your bell notification if you're as excited for Super Mario Bros. Wonder as I am. And news piece number 1 has to do with these brand new Japanese commercial spots that you can see uploaded to the Nintendo of Japan YouTube account. The stuff that happens that has not been seen in these trailers really goes by in the quick glimpse of an eye, so I will leave it playing on repeat, but then also freeze frame a couple of the more interesting portions that we saw highlighted. As you can first see Mario entering this really cool underground area that does have poisonous smoke all around it. These purple-shelled creatures that, from what I can tell, are making their debut in Mario Bros. Wonder. Then you do have what I would consider to be a very interesting look at one of the Wonder effects that you have to go through as Mario has his drill bit, and it seems like there is a giant boss-type structure, giant block that is moving down towards him with the down arrow. I'm assuming there are paths that Mario can drill through, and potentially ones that would be a dead-end kind of maze style that you may end up getting crushed. And the various different Wonder effects and trials are definitely one of the big selling points of this game to me personally. Then we have a very exciting one that actually showcases King Boo chasing Mario and friends, and this does appear to be some kind of musical scene as there are musical notes coming out of King Boo's mouth as he approaches them. It is very clear that this is a Wonder Seed challenge due to the fact that you do have the time clock visible on screen, which from what I can tell, every time there is a Wonder effect going on, that will also be visible there. So that seems like an open and shut case to me. You then have a clip that I think really expresses the artistic creativity around Super Mario Bros. Wonder, where you have all of the different Goomba characters running away from something chasing them that as it gets closer, each Goomba reacts to and freaks out entirely on their face. It looks like it's actually pure fear, and I will tell you, I love to see just how expressive this game is with all of its design elements. And the last frame of this trailer does show various different rockets beaming off with different colors behind them. I really like how the characters are spaced out away from each other, but Mario is going to be the only one that could actually reach the Wonder Seed, so you will have to make sure you're on a Billet Bull rocket that will be going up high enough in the sky to, of course, grab that. I'm sure trial and error will be taking place many times trying to get all the various Wonder Seeds within this game. Then you do have yet another trailer that really is not quite as interesting on the surface to me as all the footage in the previous one, but you do have a much deeper look at all of the different Elephant Mario mechanics. At one point, Mario is struggling to fit through a door, which again, a really nice just visual touch to realize that, yeah, Mario's twice as wide as he normally would be as an elephant, and he has a hard time fitting through doorways. And then you have what I would just say looks like some platforming chaos with all 4 characters in elephant mode, and seeing a couple different new shots there that we have not seen from the Nintendo Direct previously. And our last trailer showcases some Fire Mario goodness, taking out a couple Hammer Bros right in a classical looking like Stage 2 style level from the original Mario Bros. We see Luigi with his bubble form in action, Peach with her drill down ability, Daisy swinging off vines, and then of course poor Yoshi carrying Elephant Mario on his back. We do get another glimpse at a perspective shift Wonder effect, which I'm once again very much a fan of. I think the creativity behind this is insane. And we also have like one where all 4 characters are legitimately grappling across using that vine grapple, which another awesome addition that you'll be able to switch out depending on the level and the ability that you'll need for said level. And then we briefly see what looks to be some kind of boss battle with what looks to be a shrunk down Bowser Jr. or Koopa Kid. Can't entirely tell, but everybody else is a big character, and the Koopa gets the short end of the deal because they get smaller rather than bigger. And there are a couple more interesting shots at the end of this with some rail grinding and bubble hopping, but that's really about it for the new footage. Now, the next topic of conversation that is being discussed online has to do with the collision mechanic, or specifically the lack of in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, as we now have confirmation that it was once planned to be in the game but was afterwards removed. As you can see this following article posted up over on Nintendo Everything, which reads, Super Mario Bros. Wonder local multiplayer initially had collision, where you can see a direct quote from the director of the game in a Rolling Stones interview that reads, when we took the leap of faith and removed collision, we realized that it removes a lot of the stress. For example, when you have a narrow platform that you have to jump to when somebody is there, they just get in the way. It'll still be possible to interact with players directly in a couple of ways in co-op. First, you can save a friend who's been defeated by reaching their ghost form before time runs out. Also, if someone is playing as Yoshi, you can jump on their back and ride them. So I personally had to stop and think about whether or not I was a fan of this feature in the previous new Super Mario Bros. Entries, and I don't remember it really ever being an issue, other than I can relate to that stressful comment, because there was definitely plenty of times where you're platforming right next to a friend and you jump on their head and send them to their death, and it definitely creates some of the maybe fun chaos that you could ultimately expect with a 2D Mario playing local co-op. But at the same time, I can see that removing it entirely may actually open up more tricky gameplay possibilities, and this is being described as a game that won't be overly difficult. It's definitely more on the relaxing side of things, but you also do have certain stages that rank their difficulty at 3 stars, and those are ones that you really have to have precision platforming for. And I wonder, no pun intended, whether or not those type of stages will maybe feel that much more intense, because rather than another player being the reason that you would potentially fail and fall to your death, you might just have to be that precise, where regardless of where the other characters are at, you have to worry about timing the jumps just right, having enough speed, and getting onto those very small platforms. So I'll have to wait and see how I really feel about this until I get a chance to boot up this game locally with friends in local co-op mode, but I'm definitely not concerned about it being a missing feature, and I'm curious to hear from you guys on whether or not you're a fan of collision in Mario games with local co-op play, or if you're somebody who thinks that it's probably for the best that it was taken out. Now, the very last potential leak, and maybe even spoiler if this is indeed true and not some kind of internet hoax, has to do with a new playable character, and so I will give you just a quick 2-second spoiler warning to click off the video now if you don't want to know anything about potential unlockable characters within this game. We do have a leak that stems from 4chan, which definitely calls into question its credibility right out of the gate. But while many things are fake on 4chan, there's also a ton that does accurately leak due to its anonymous nature, and you do have the following screenshot that shows Rosalina as a playable character within Super Mario Bros. Wonder. However, you do have to remember that stuff like this can be elaborately faked. Somebody can go through and grab a Rosalina sprite and actually edit her into the game and make it look entirely convincing, or this could be somebody who actually has the full game playable and they have indeed unlocked Rosalina, and this is one of those spoiler moments where they shared it to the internet when Nintendo never confirmed that we would have any more playable characters other than what they showcased. But with the addition of Daisy, I definitely don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that a Rosalina exists in this game. Maybe even a Pauline could be thrown in here, but I'm not entirely sold that this is 100% real and accurate, but it is being talked about online. So I really want to pose the question to you guys at this point in the video on everything we talked about. How do you feel about the idea that Rosalina could be a playable character, and do you buy into this screenshot at all and think that it is indeed an unlockable playable character later on, or are you somebody who thinks that this is one big elaborate hoax? How do you feel about collision not being included in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and what do you think about the latest footage that we saw from the Japanese YouTube commercial spots that are all now live online? But regardless of your thoughts and feelings on everything we talked about today, I do look forward to hearing from you all in the comments down below before you leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics. Go watch yesterday's video next if you haven't already, which is on screen right now. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.